everyone, and welcome to the Quitcast. My name is Becca. We're taking a tiny detour from the two different series that we have currently going on to talk about a QTP episode on a piece of content that has come up as I'm writing the stuck lists. So, questioning the premise on this podcast or YouTube channel is about, should this piece of advice apply to me? Should I worry about following this advice or aligning myself with this thing that other authors tell me I should be doing? And there's so much rhetoric in the author help and support community around don't worry about thinking about things, just go ahead and push through and write as fast as you can and get your crappy first draft done, and then just, move on and go edit afterwards. And I have to be cautious to say, for some people, that is absolutely the way you should be working, and that's awesome. And for others of us, we are not wired to do that level of crappy first drafting. And so the pressure to try to do that all the time is oppressive for people who shouldn't be listening to it. And if you are feeling oppressed by that, I want to do a quick episode about the fear of the blank page, because I think this is a very important thing to understand. When I am not a crappy first drafter, when I am more wired to be either an edit as you go person or a think right, or think right, depending on what version of this I am. But when I am wired to not crappy first draft, then there is a different relationship that I have with the cursor of the page than there is with people who are wired to do this the other way, who are either they loved crappy first draft, or they've learned how to do it in a way that works for them, or whatever the cause is. They have a different relationship with the blank page and with the cursor than people are who are not wired this way. So what should that relationship look like? A lot of the writing advice that I hear is, don't be afraid. It's fine. Just go ahead and take the plunge. Go ahead and write. It doesn't matter what it says. You can edit it later, not realizing that as you give that advice farther and farther in, I'm getting more and more anxious about it if I'm a person who's naturally wired to be afraid of that blank page. And the fear of the blank page is actually a good thing. We'll talk about that in a second. But when I hear that advice, I get rising and mounting terror when people are like, no, just do it. Fast, go fast draft, like don't think, turn your brain off, all those things, right? And as I'm listening to them, I'm thinking more and more and more like, oh, wait, this is way scarier than I thought it would be. That sounds awful. That sounds painful. I don't want to do that. That's not right for me. Whatever it is that I'm thinking, the fear is actually mounting. So my listening to that advice is not helping, and it's actually making it worse. So I wanted to do a quick episode about why that fear happens so that we can have a sort of a reorientation about how to think if I'm wired this way, and understanding why that fear exists and when it can actually be good for us. So the first thing we have to understand when we question the premise of fear of the blank page is not all fear is created equal, but our brain doesn't know that. So our brain is wired for survival. It is not wired for happiness. It is not wired for comfort. It is not wired for ease. It is wired for survival. And what it learns is, here's how to survive. We survive by doing this. We survive by doing that. It is 100% the way that we pattern and even the way that we assimilate habits and the way we do everything is a survival mechanism. So when you understand that, it changes how you receive the data from your brain, because your brain doesn't know what it's doing. It is literally operating on instinct. It is not a logical, and it's so funny because we think because logic appears in the brain or it aligns in the brain that all of the sources of our brain are actually logical and everything that we do is logical. No. It's most of it is illogical completely, and most of it is counterintuitive and counterproductive, but it doesn't know that because it is not wired to be logical or smart or creative or emotional or any. It's literally just wired to survive. It's trying to keep us alive. So what that means is the brain's relationship to fear is relative to that purpose, relative to survival mechanisms. So when I'm afraid of something, the core original biological fear that I feel can very quickly go into life and death stakes without me realizing it. And it doesn't even have to be where I actually feel the effects of adrenaline, because you can't feel the adrenaline, but you can feel the effects of adrenaline. It doesn't always have to be that. There's a lot of lead up to fear that feels very life or death stakes that we don't even realize, because a lot of us haven't felt life and death stakes recently. So we don't remember what that feels like in our body in the same way, because there aren't just, lions wandering around ready to eat us off the side of the sidewalk in, I don't know, Poughkeepsie, right? Like there might be in some places, not just in the world, but there might be legitimate danger in certain places in the world. And then you are more familiar with what life and death danger feels like. So you know that the blank page won't kill you. But those of us who do not feel life and death stakes on a regular basis have a really hard time distinguishing between the fear that we feel at something like rejection or the blank page or failure or success. We don't always have the perspective to understand what our brain is really doing, how much our brain has wired itself into defense mechanisms and life and death stakes. We don't always know that. So when I experience the fear of a blank page, it is so important for me to understand that that fear is really beneficial. Like my brain is supposed to be feeling that fear of the blank page is good. The blank page is a scary place, but it is not going to kill me. And I need to be able to help my brain understand that the blank page is not going to kill me. So when I am not facing the blank page, that's not when I need to understand it. When I need to understand it is when I'm facing the blank page the way that I would face down the lion. That's when I need to know that. Because in the middle of that moment, all the logic centers shut down. And the only thing that I can feel is the survival mechanism and that thing that is trying to keep me protected from the stuff that is dangerous. So the reason I go so big into the why around all of this stuff, and on the Quitcast especially, the reason we talk about why so often is when you know why something is happening and you have believed something else for a long time, then you can actually understand it better, right? So when I hear people giving advice about the fear surrounding a blank page, what I hear is, well, the people who aren't afraid of it on that level, they know it's not going to kill them instinctively. Why? I don't know, right? Like I can't explain why someone doesn't fear the blank page and why someone does. I mean, I can, but we'll cover what I can cover in a minute. But what I know for sure is that I hear the lack of terror in their voice when they think about the blank page. They are not feeling the thing that other authors feel when they look at the blank page, that sheer objective terror of what if I can't do this? What if I'm not capable? What if all of this, the other books I finished were flukes? What if it's a lie? What if I don't write? Can you hear the rhetorical question asking? And those of you who don't have an internal dialogue or monologue happening inside, your body is automatically asking those questions for you. You just don't know that's what's happening. And sometimes what you need to do is that physical soothing that will remind you, like, it is actually okay. It's going to be fine. Like, this blank page is not going to kill me. Body, you don't have to respond like that. The same way that you would with a child if they were afraid of something that wasn't actually a fear place for them. What you wouldn't say is, if you're a kind person, it's so stupid to be afraid of that. Why are you afraid of this? It's just a clown. Like clearly there's something in the brain of that adult or child that sees clowns as being terrifying and they are responding as though they're terrifying. Me telling you just don't be afraid of the clown is not going to help you not be afraid of it. I have to help to deconstruct that fear and help you understand it. And then I have to help your body understand. that it's going to be okay, right? Like that it is actually okay to approach that blank page, that you do have the tools that you need to do it. You just can't think of them in the moment because they are intuitive for you and you don't have the capacity to think of them. And just on a side note, that's one of the reasons we created the stuck list, was so that you wouldn't have to intentionally go into battle with the blank page without arsenal. So the blank page is definitely territory for some of us that is frightening. And we do actually need to be afraid of it because it is not a place where our natural talents shine. And that's all that there is to it. Is it is similar to being a easily surprised person in a haunted house. People who are not as easily surprised can walk into a haunted house and feel completely secure and safe and know that they're going to come out on the other side. And in the moment, they continually are able to remind themselves like, hey, it's going to be fine. We're fine. We're fine. Some of that is repetition. Some of it is self-soothing. Some of it is emotional balance. There are all kinds of reasons, but some of it is just genuinely, some of us are easily surprised. And when we are easily surprised, an environment like a haunted house is more painful for us because we do have that easily surprised nature. And then we allow ourselves to be fully immersed in the fantasy or the experience. And so it's more scary to be in a haunted house, but it's not going to kill me unless I'm in a Buffy show, right? Or something. But by and large, I know that it is actually safe to go into that place and to come out the other side, and everyone has done it and it's going to be fine. But in the moment, my brain doesn't know that. So I have to be willing to be gracious with my brain about the level of fear it feels. And then to remind myself, hey, it's going to be okay though. I've gone through this maze before. I've started a blank page in the past. I know that my creativity will come through for me and I will be able to continually reach for tools to help me throughout the process. And then I'll be able to get through the other side and it'll be fine. And if you can't manufacture that in the moment, you don't have to. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to take a screen capture of me just saying that thing that I just said out loud in my best parental soothing voice that I could possibly muster. And I'll say more things like that. And when you get to a point where you start to feel afraid of the blank page, I want you to pull out that recording. Because if you can't manufacture that for yourself, we don't want to assume that you can. I'm not just going to be like, well, stop being afraid of the blank page, bro. Good luck. Like, that's not the way to do this. That's not helpful. If you could do that on your own, you would already be doing it. So if you need some support, here's the support. Record my voice saying that thing. And like I said, I'll say something similar in a second. When we talk about rhetorical questions, I'll say something similar again, and play it for yourself when you're facing the blank page. Because similar to Luke walking into the cave where Vader is in the second Star Wars movie, the only ones that count, by the way, the original trilogy. Don't at me, by the way, because I won't fight with you because I'm just right. But when he walks into that cave, he knows that he has a weapon with him, right? So what makes him able to walk into the cave as a non-stupid person is he's in an environment that could be dangerous and he has a weapon with him. He knows that he's going to be okay, or he knows he'll be able to do what he can do to fight. So the fear is still there. He feels afraid. We should feel afraid facing a blank page. It is a dangerous place, but it's not a deadly place. And that's something your brain can't know on its own. Sometimes you have to tell it that. The reason this is so important in understanding how that fear in our brains is meant to function is that when you go into that mode where you start to hit survival instinct and you're almost there into fight or flight mode, or fight, flight, or freeze, when you are almost there, you can't back yourself down from that by just saying things like repeating things for tools that you don't have. If you are not a crappy first drafter, it's only going to make you feel more anxious and more likely to kick you into fight or flight and into terror for you to talk about, to talk to yourself the way other people talk to themselves when they're sitting in front of the blank page. and you start asking yourselves rhetorical questions like, what if I can't do this? What happens if I can't? What if I can't ever write this again? But and again, you may not hear them, but your body is asking them, and you're getting yourself into a place where you go into survival mode, because that is what those questions are designed to do. It's why I always say, do not ask yourself rhetorical questions, answer the rhetorical questions. What happens if I can't write this book? Well, great. I have a ton of tools. I will grab one of them. I will figure out a way. I've done it before. I can do it again, right? Like, I want you to answer those questions, because the what happens if I can't do it, the likelihood of you legitimately not being able to do it if you've done it before is so low, it's not even worth worrying about. But your brain asks you that question because it's trying to help you kick in the adrenaline so you can go into fight, flight, or freeze, so you can survive. It literally thinks you're about to die. It does not know the difference, because the level of fear that you feel is not relative to anything that feels higher than that level of fear. The level of fear you're feeling right now is the highest level that maybe you felt in a long time, because this matters to you so much. And so what we want to do is we want to try to answer the rhetorical questions that we ask ourselves. What happens if I can't write this book? Well, I have tools. I have a stuck list workbook that I could get from Becca. I have all of these people that I can call. I have a place to go for brainstorming. I have places to go. I have tools to walk into this dangerous place. It is not deadly. It is not going to kill me. I'm going to be okay. And if I don't do it today, I'm going to come back and I'm going to do it tomorrow. And you have to use a parental voice with yourself when you talk like this, because you are used to listening to power differentials and that level of certainty. So you can't say uncertainly, I'm not afraid of the blank. I'm not afraid. No, that's not going to make you not afraid. You need to hear that power differential and that certainty in a way that says, yes, you are going to be able to do this. It is so rare. And I mean rare, like I'm not even sure that I've actually experienced this, but it's so rare that I run across a writer who asks themselves this question, who literally can't do it. The people who ask themselves this question are people who are capable of doing it, but are worried they're not going to do it in the best way that they possibly could be. And that's why the fear is a good thing. The fear is just a signal that you care a lot about doing this the right way, and you want to make sure you do it the right way. That's why I'm saying it can't kill you. It is dangerous. The blank page is dangerous because there's a lot at stake for you in doing this right and wrong. And it's totally understandable that you would care a lot about making sure that you do this right. But that care itself is an indicator that you are going to figure out a way to do it correctly. If you don't do it right the first time, you're going to reach out for help. If you don't do it right the second time, you're going to find a different tool. If you get stuck, you're going to come to the Quitcast. You're going to figure this out. You're going to come to one of our free public coaching options. You're going to go into our Facebook groups. You're going to find a way to get this book to be what you want it to be. The more you try to convince yourself you're not, is your body trying to kick you into survival mode. And because there is no life and death stakes in this situation, you always have the ability to learn. You always have the ability to erase and rewrite and write again and re-release. And there's literally nothing but learning opportunity in front of you. The stakes are not as high as your biology wants you to believe that they are, because it's trying to help you survive. And it does not know that the blank page is not going to kill you. So you have to be the adult in the relationship and remind your brain, it's going to be okay though. We have tools, there are places to go. I have books, I have friends. I have, even if I don't have friends who are writers, I have friends. I have other groups on Facebook or Twitter or somewhere else, or the YouTube community that I can go to and I can ask questions. I follow people on TikTok that I can ask questions of, or Instagram. Everyone has a place that they can go. And when your brain is trying to convince you that you don't, it's trying to protect you and kick you into terror mode so that you can respond in survival instincts because it doesn't know what to do. And again, this is the whole reason that I made the stuck list tool, is specifically so that you can have a plan for how you're going to respond when you get freaked out about the blank page. So as much as I love all of the content creators who are constantly like, just write it bad, hurry up, get to the page, move along, all of those things, it pains me to think of all the people who are getting into higher and higher terror levels because this is not solving the problem that they actually have. So my hope is that this video will be something you can replay for yourself to help you remember to solve the problem that you have and not the one that someone else has. So if you are actually afraid of the blank page, you don't need to solve the problem of being afraid. You're never going to be able to convince yourself. If there are certain brain wirings where you should pause before you hit that blank page. You should think and consider, you should do some preparation. You should prepare yourself for this because it is going to be either some level of a gauntlet or it's going to be, you have an outcome that you care a lot about. So the stakes are going up. Like there is some reason why you should care about this, and trying to convince yourself that you don't is not taking you at your most realistic. It's not dealing with the reality that's around you. It's magical thinking. It's not going to help. But if we can actually answer the questions that you're really asking, so don't ask yourself a rhetorical question, always answer rhetorical questions, and then help your brain to understand in the moment, but it's actually okay. It's really going to be okay. This is not a dangerous place. It is just evidence that I care about this a lot. And that blank page is not as dangerous as I think it is because it's changeable. And I'm always going to be able to fix this and figure it out. And I am capable of finding support. And I am an intelligent and creative person. So the more you can repeat those things to yourself and just remind yourself, it's actually going to be okay. I am going to figure out how to do this, or I'm going to become the person that I need to be in order to get better at this over time, then you will be able to take forward motion. You'll be able to make progress. But if you just continue to try to convince yourself you're not afraid when you really are, it's not real. It's just going to get worse. And you may end up frozen for a longer time period. In fact, we've seen people be frozen for years because they keep trying not to be afraid of the blank page. And sometimes even the stuff we say, like, hey, just open the manuscript and ask if you can write the next sentence, is oppressive for some of us because it is very painful to have to square with the fact that I can't just sit down and write if that's the way that I'm wired. Like I can't just open the manuscript and write. And as long as I know, though, that is not a bad thing. I can still write after I've thought about it or processed it or planned or gotten ready or found a resource. I'm still going to be able to write. It is going to be okay. I'm going to be able to make progress because I can find the tools that I need for support. I am not alone in this. That is important. You have to know you're not alone in this. And if you need additional support, reach out to us, ask questions in the comments. I will do everything I can do possibly to help you. And our goal is always to help you get to where you want to get to. And if you are not being helped by the advice that is out there about the blank page, then you need to mark this video and do the screen recordings and get me in your ear so that I'm the one who's reminding you that being afraid is not a bad thing. And also that blank page is much more conquerable than you think it is, than your brain thinks it is. It's not you, the person, the whole unified you. You logically know the blank page is not dangerous, but when you get in front of it, your brain doesn't know that. So we just want to set you up to be successful in the moments when your brain needs to hear that. Okay. I promise when we come back, we're going to continue both of the series that we've been doing. I promise. Archetypes and sustainability, we're going to get back to them. But we may also be doing a couple of QTP episodes. I feel them brewing every once in a while, like thoughts. where when I start to hear the advice over and over enough, I'm like, oh, this is not helping. Let's solve the problem in a different way. Or this is helping only the people it's helping. And what about all these people who are not getting helped? So hopefully this was helpful for you. If this was helpful, please mark this and share it with other people, because the only way that this content gets into the hands of the right writers is if you, when someone says, hey, I'm struggling with this, send it to them. We do our job and we send it to every person that we can think of to send it to. But also, when you have been helped by this, please make sure that you're sending this to the people that you know and love who are writers when you hear them express similar things. So, all right, I'm going to head out because I want to get this up and out, and I appreciate everyone's time today. This may or may not be the last time that you hear from me before the end of the year. And so I hope everyone's having a happy holiday season. And if you are not, I hope you are totally fine with that, because not everybody needs to have a happy holiday season. We are all in a different place. And so may you have the holiday that you choose to have. That's my goal for you. And so I hope that everyone has a good week, and that if you need help from us, you will reach out, and that if you have questions, you will ask them. And I'll see you on the next Quitcast. Bye, everyone.